Hi, thanks for joining us on Calm Hearts, Calm Minds, an NOCS Heart podcast that allows us to make the mental health victories of everyday Ghanaians accessible, relevant, and relatable. We hope that you enjoy listening to us and learning lots, and we hope you do come back again to learn some more. Now, today's episode. Hi, everyone. Hi, Dr. Abigail. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
This is Calm Hearts, Calm Minds. It's an NOCS Heart podcast. I am your host, Ofosiade Ama, and I have the amazing Dr. Abigail with us today. We are going to speak about the joy that can be lost after birth. And if you heard what I've just said, we are really going to talk about postpartum depression. So these postpartum conditions are many, but today we are zeroing in on postpartum depression. So it's great to have her. At Calm Hearts, Calm Minds, we are on a big mission to make mental health victories more relevant, more relatable, and more accessible in our society. So please like, comment, share. And the good thing about these things that people may not come back and say thank you, but you have no idea who you are assisting with regards to this podcast. So thank you so much to the Abigail for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll go straight into it. Please, Dr. Abigail, tell us, who are you? A bit about yourself. What do you do?
Okay, my name is Dr. Nyedinefu Abigail Chikadibia. I'm from Nigeria, a medical doctor by profession, and a mental health advocate by passion. Right from time, I've always been passionate about mental health, specifically mental health as it concerns marginalized and vulnerable communities, from women to children to disabled groups. I'm passionate about the fact that these people are not ones that usually have access to quality mental health care. So there is a need for us to actually bring them along. It's quite easy to forget these vulnerable groups when we talk about mental health care. Giving them aside while going for those who can assist access the healthcare, so we can see that, oh, okay, we are doing something, while forgetting that there are actually people who don't have access to this education, this awareness, and this empowerment. So that's where my passion lies. And it's always an amazing time to be able to discuss mental health, especially as regards postpartum depression.
I like what you said. It made me even wonder. We usually just say the madman, and we forget that they are women, children, and also the best of examples. And then when we are thinking of awareness, sometimes do we go into schools? Do we go where many of the women are who may actually who are more vulnerable because they don't have access? So that's a very good point that you make. I think that even dovetails into the question that I have now is, why is this topic so important to you, Dr. Abigail?
Okay. One thing about postpartum depression, as regards not just in Nigeria, but I think in a lot of African countries, is that it is usually overlooked. Women and mothers are not so desirous of coming out to come and say, oh, okay, this is what I'm experiencing. Because, when a child is born, it is paramount that you are happy.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else matters. All that every other person cares about is you have brought forth this beautiful life into this world. What else? Which other problems could you have that is more important than this joy of birthing a child? And so we are so quick to undermine the feelings and what these women and mothers go through. And one thing I realized is it's been overlooked isn't just as regards lay individuals, as we can call them, but it goes all the way up to even the healthcare workers. Postpartum depression is not something that healthcare workers routinely have an eye for. For most healthcare workers, it is when it becomes so glaringly obvious that their attention is immediately called to the fact that, okay, it's like there's a problem here. But then this is something that's right from antenatal care. It's something that I believe should be brought up. As much as we always try to preach breastfeeding practices, okay, things to watch out for when you're in labor, it is also imperative that we also include the fact that, see, there's a mental health condition called postpartum depression. These are the signs that you must look out for as regards postpartum depression, because some people confuse postpartum depression with baby blues. Now, baby blues is a whole different like I won't call it a problem. It's quite common. More than 80% of women will experience baby blues. Usually, a few days after birth, the realization dawns on you that I am a mother. And then you begin to have all those emotions and all those worry. But the thing with baby blues is that usually within 2 weeks, it sorts itself out. Those feelings go away and it's replaced by that joy, that happiness, and settle in fully into your role as a mother. But once symptoms persist more than 2 weeks, we begin to look out. We begin to look at the aspect that this could actually be postpartum depression. Postpartum depression can come with symptoms like irritability. The symptoms vary. I won't say, okay, a woman must have this. The only criteria that is sure is that in postpartum depression, it can occur prior to delivery, shortly before delivery, after delivery, up to at least a year after delivery. So if a woman is coming, a year. So if a woman is coming to...
let me just jump in on this one.
Yes.
You are saying that somebody can give birth.
Yes.
And they only get postpartum depression, like it only starts showing a year after. Like when you do first birthday, then now.
Yes, usually within 1 year. So if someone comes to you maybe 6 months postpartum, it's not time to be like 6 months. Why are you coming now? Or shouldn't it have presented earlier? No, because it can also even present before birth. So some people start having these symptoms of postpartum depression before birth, but because a lot of people, like I said, don't keep an eye out for it. So they just think, they are just being anxious. But then it just goes on, and then these symptoms just persist and worsen within that 1 year. So 6 months, 7 months, 8 months postpartum, someone can still develop postpartum depression.
I am shocked. I mean, to say the least. And I like to think that I'm well read, but this is one of the reasons why I love Calm Hearts, Calm Minds, is that almost every episode I learned something new. I had no clue about that sort. I knew there were delays, but I didn't think that it was a whole year. And speaking of postpartum baby blues, I had that. Luckily, I was aware. But also, when you think about, when I think about my antenatal post, it didn't really come up. It was probably because my family is exposed and we knew what to look out for. But generally, the regular things, as you said, breastfeeding, eat well, take your vitamins, come for weighing. There's no conversation in the public health space, at least, with regards to postpartum depression and the other postpartum issues that could come up when it comes to mental health. So I realize how much of a valid point you are making, and I'm very happy that you are here today to talk about it. I think it would have come up later in some of the questions, but because you've raised it, I want to raise it now. You did mention that you don't want to say A, B, and C are the symptoms. And obviously with baby blues like me, I think in 2 weeks, I was like, I have a baby. And I was all excited. First was like duty calls, and it was very weird. But even then, even though I was aware of these conditions, even then in that moment, it didn't click till it was over. But thankfully, at least family members were around to look out for me if needed. But generally, now we want to prepare families like how my family was prepared and how other families are privileged enough to be prepared one way or the other. What are the symptoms that people should actually look out for? Knowing well that sometimes we ourselves can get over what's the word, ambitious or exuberant and be prescribing and diagnosing people. But generally, we shouldn't be doing that. But we should have at least some tools in our arsenal that says that, okay, if you see A, B, C, and D, or A, like now maybe you can start asking certain questions. So what should we look out for if we know someone who is pregnant or who has just given birth and could be at risk? We wouldn't know, but what would help us help them get at least the help they need?
Okay. Now, like I said earlier, postpartum depression presents in different ways
Okay.
to different mothers or to different individuals. For some, it could be just crying for no reason. For some others, it could be irritability. They get annoyed easily. They get angry. Basically, you cannot say the right thing. So whatever you say or do
Wait,
is
that
wrong.
could be like half the African mothers we know who have just given birth. You know, we
Okay,
make
true.
jokes about these things, but I mean, okay, you continue.
Well, for some, it could be a constant state of worry and anxiety, always
Okay.
feeling anxious. While for some others, they become too worried in the sense that they don't want anyone, even their husbands, picking up the child because they feel like someone is out there to hurt the child. They begin to have hallucinations of someone trying to kidnap the child. So you see some of them being, what's the word I can use now? Cuddling or over cuddling the child because they feel like everyone around them is their enemy and wants to hurt the child. For some
Aren't
people,
you also encouraged to do that? Like keep your child away from the evil eye and,
yes.
I
But in a
mean,
case where there's no reason for you to feel
mm,
um, like people are out to get you. Okay,
okay.
for example, a um, a first time mother. Okay, it's her child, her husband. Now, this is a man you've been with for some years prior. But then somehow your mind has initiated this entire scenario that this man feels like you're an incompetent mother and he's planning to take away your child from you for some reason or the other. So because of that, you have this heightened sense of insecurity. So most of the time you are jumping around. Once he wants to go and carry the child, you jump around and you take the child. No, 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 I've got it covered. I've got it covered. You don't want to accept any help because you feel like, okay, even if a relative comes, you feel like, this relative is in cahoots with your husband and is also trying to take away the child. So that heightened sense of insecurity when there's no basis for it. And for some other people, it presents with a loss of sleep. Now I know a lot of women say, okay, the baby is not sleeping, so they cannot sleep. But then this loss of sleep now is even when the baby is asleep. When you should be resting, you are
I should
unable
be
to
exhausted
rest.
enough to sleep. You are not sleeping.
Yes, you just can't bring yourself to sleep. And then for some people, in worst case scenarios, they begin to have thoughts of hurting their child. So you see some women telling you that I'm having dreams where I'm suffocating my child or where I'm burying his or her head underwater because their mind has thwarted reality and they feel like this is the best thing they can do for the child is to remove the child from this world. So these are some of the symptoms that some people present with. So like I said, it varies. Some people it can be in terms of food, loss of appetite, unable to bring themselves to eat, and all of that.
So these are, oh, it's normal. Oh, you'll be fine. Oh, and I like what you said at the beginning, that people are expecting you to be joyful. Even if, let's say, you lost a lot of money at once and you are broke, they say, oh, thank God. Like,
You
you
have a
should,
child at
oh, you
least.
have a child. Some people go, they don't have it.
Yes.
They don't even leave anything for you or help you in any way. They'll just be telling you how it should be
What you're
comfortable.
expected to feel like.
Yes. So I can see how it's easily undermined and could easily be overlooked. So I liked what you said about the blues being 2 weeks. And I also like what you said about how bad it can get and how it presents itself in different forms. I can even see some of them bordering on the postpartum psychosis just because
Yes.
the depression is what started and it's escalating. So I'm really, really happy with what you said. Let's go then into the questions that we had prepared. Thanks for
Okay.
talking about the symptoms. So as both a medical doctor and a mental health advocate, what are some of the unexpected challenges you've observed in the healthcare systems? You've mentioned a few that it's not really part of the antenatal, postnatal conversations.
Yes.
And there doesn't seem to be any screening or whatsoever. But also, what have you seen done well, despite these challenges, despite these norms that don't really help with managing postpartum depression ahead of time or even when it's happening? What are some of the aside the challenges that you mentioned, what are some of the wins that we can celebrate, especially in our society? We are not in the UK, we are not in the US, we are not in any of these countries. We are in Africa. We are both on the West African coast. What are some of the things you've seen that actually go like, this one there, you've done well?
Okay, I think I can say that in recent times, the level of awareness and education
Mm,
that we have tried to bring up, especially as regards, let me say, mental health in general now. I can't
mm,
really come down and say, okay, in postpartum depression, because there's still a lot of work to be done.
mm,
But mental health in general, the level of education, the level of awareness, and us trying to destigmatize mental health in various ways through awareness programs, through the internet, it's worthy of note. I think in previous years, some people have lived their life, entire life, not knowing that there was anything like postpartum
mm-hmm.
depression existing. But now we have conversations about it, like the one we are
Yeah.
having now. So those are some of the wins we can celebrate. And
Mm.
some institutions have started thinking about support groups.
Oh,
So
mm.
within antenatal care programs, like I know in the hospital where I am, we had to facilitate a support network within the antenatal care program because you have these
Okay.
women always coming in, usually the same set of men because they book them for certain days. So it's the
Mm-hmm.
same number of people coming in. You could know yourselves at some point. So we decided that there's a need for us to bring a support network that includes a mental health professional,
Oh,
um,
nice.
an obstetrician and gynecologist, and then people with lived experience.
Mm.
Because just keeping professionals there who have not exactly, even though they've seen how it manifests, but they've not physically experienced it themselves. It's not as like say it doesn't do much.
It's
It
not
does
as
much.
simple.
Yes, as when you have someone who is literally just vomiting your own experience at that moment. And then you can tell that, okay, if this person is right here talking to me about this, so that means they've survived through it and I can survive through it. But when I come and I'm telling you, so this, and I've seen someone who went through this, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
experience it. So
Yeah.
I'm giving you secondhand information on what I
Yes.
saw the person experience. But then when
Mm-hmm.
there's someone who is saying it from a personal perspective, it brings a better
That's one way.
perspective, yes, into the whole
Yeah.
situation, yes. So that
Nice.
in itself is worthy of commendation. So if more hospitals can key into that, or even within the antenatal care programs,
Mm-hmm.
just having a counselor, a psychotherapist talking to these women occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're not saying every day, make it a routine that it's when you come to speak about it, people are not okay, that's all. You speak about it once and we all
Mm-hmm.
move on. No, it should become a regular thing to the extent that when it's not spoken about, we ask, you
Well,
forgot to mention this, because it has become part of our routine. Just the same way we teach women about breastfeeding and
mm,
good breastfeeding practices and signs to watch out for when they are in labor. We should also drill it that, okay, this is what can happen. This, if you have baby blues, this is it. Within 2 weeks, if
mm-hmm.
symptoms persist more than 2 weeks, or you begin to
Mm-hmm.
have thoughts of harming your child or this or that, come to the hospital. Providing that safe space where people are already made aware. of things to watch out for, and then they know that you are offering not just things to look out for, you are offering them a solution if it should happen. It would really go a long way.
I like what you said about offering a solution, because even for me, even though I was aware, if somebody had told me that if I feel like everything is just a chore, just feed a child, but and you don't have any like fuzzy love and joy, then you could be suffering from postpartum blues, and I should come into the hospital for it. When I went to check a few days later, I may have mentioned it, but I didn't even know then. So I like what you said about not only telling people what to look out for, but also being able to get a solution. And recently people have started speaking a lot. I learned a lot about postpartum blues from a group called Telek Moms in Ghana on Facebook that at the time. At a point, it will come up a lot. You there, they were just women, well, mostly women. And then you would have the topic come up and people were sharing their experiences. And some lady said she wanted to poison her children. She didn't know what was wrong. And later on realized what had happened. And I'm thinking that these are the good stories. These are the wins. But some people would not know and wouldn't even know that there's something wrong and it's treatable and it's manageable and end up doing things that should not be done, then we can just easily call them a witch, and that's that. I think it's nice that we have conversations like these, as you said. We'll move on to the next question that we have. When it comes to your own professional experience, have you seen someone who went through the postpartum depression, but you also saw them overcome? Can you tell us a bit about their story, what happened, and what were some of the things that really helped with the breakthroughs?
Okay. So I once had a patient actually. She had come on admission. Her child basically was on admission right from birth, spent almost a month. And then at first, it was her first child. She had lost a child before, so this was her first child. So the joy of at least having one, even though the child was on admission, was palpable. You would come, you see her smiling. Oh, doctor, how is my child? But then 3 weeks in, one night, they called me. She was screaming. She was angry. She was pushing her mom away, pushing the husband, didn't want to talk to any of them. And then she said something that immediately clicked that no, she most likely had been having some repressed symptoms before now. She said, I'm not going to touch this child. If she wants to die, let her die. So that isn't a statement that just flies out.
Oh,
If
Emma,
something has not been
someone had been happy for the last 3 weeks.
Yes. If something has not been bubbling underneath, but then of course trying to placate everyone, you put up a happy face, you try to do what you're supposed to do, try to show up. But then tying the fact that the child had been on admission, she had not been resting well, she had not been feeding as well, feeding so well, because every 2 hours you have to come and feed the child. All of these stressors put together with what she was experiencing mentally, she had that breakdown. So immediately we had to go into action. We had to start asking her questions surrounding her mental health, get the psychiatrist involved. For a while, we had to tell the husband to come, also bring him into the know. We did, we had the psychiatrist talk to her, but then at the same time, we had the psychiatrist talk to them as a family. Because one thing we realized that she had a supportive family. They just didn't know how to go about doing the support. It's one thing for you to have a supportive family, and it's another thing for them not to. When they say someone has the, you have the thoughts, it's there, but then carrying it out, it's not going one way or the other.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Exactly. So they knew, and they knew that they needed to be supportive. They wanted to be supportive. They just did not know how to be supportive, especially with her pushing them away. So we had to bring in the psychiatrist to speak to all of them as a family, as a unit, including her with her presence, and then speak to her again aside to actually see where she was at mentally. And then after that, we had to get them to actually come help in the hospital and give her a break so that she can at least rest.
Rest, yeah.
Yes, just get away from the stressors. She was still within the hospital environment, but now we are managing her and not just managing the baby. So we have to manage her as an individual, manage her as the mother of the child, and then manage the child. So she left, I think the last time I saw her, in good spirits, still seeing the psychiatrist, but at a better space of mind. You could tell now that she wasn't faking it. You know, when you see someone truly happy and then you think back to when you thought the person was happy, you can now see the difference.
You can now see the difference.
The difference. And then we could see the difference in also how she spoke to her family members. Because at this point now, they were actually being supportive. They were trying to be supportive before, but now they were being supportive. They were being, they understood better what she needed. She didn't just need them hovering around her and just trying to choke her with the love, but they were now being more proactive. She could see it in the way they would care. The husband would come, shuffle between work and home just to give her a break. And then by the time we had discharged the child, her happiness wasn't just about us discharging the child. It was that she was also in a better mental space. And as at when last we talked, the baby is doing amazing. She is doing amazing. And they are doing great as a family. So is that anytime I think back to her, it's I thank God that she had that breakdown here in the hospital. Because having that kind of breakdown at home, we don't know what could have been done or what would have happened when she was in that state of mind, and if the baby was around at that time or in her line of care at that time. So being able to handle this early intervention on its own, it does wonders. It does wonders. Before you let it fester on for so long, just being able to curb it at the initial stage, and then also being able to bring families together, make them realize that there's a common enemy. They are not fighting themselves. There's a common enemy at hand. And a lot of times I've realized that families, well, not just families, us as individuals, we are so, when we hear someone has given birth, we are so focused on the baby, the baby, the baby. We are hauling gifts from our house to the mother's home for the baby, for the baby, for the baby. You enter the house, can I see the baby, the baby, the baby? What does the baby want? What does the baby want? What does the baby want?
And I remember my experience. They actually put you aside. Like suddenly you feel like
you have done your work to bring forth the child. So now it's step aside.
People even ask you how are you doing. Just take the
and then it's even within the family itself. Most times it's usually maybe the parents of the lady or the husband that actually are you okay? Are you fine? Sometimes they even forget because they are all, and I won't say I blame them, it's just the narrative of a new life has come into this world, and then they don't expect that you'll be anything other than good after your life now. So you must be fine. So they shift your time. Your doctors will take care of you. And then they are so focused on the baby, and then they forget that there is a literal human being who has bettered this child, who is now dealing with several emotions, several hormonal changes that they might not be aware on how to deal with it, so they suppress it. So this kind of things, it's important that we look out not just for the baby, but look out for the mother and the father as well. Because one thing people don't realize is that men can also have postpartum depression. It might not be as common, as a woman, or it may not be as brazenly obvious as it can be in some women, but it exists. Some men are dying inside, but of course they can, how can the provider, the alpha, the omega of the house, the beginning of the house, how can it be anything
in my language they say men don't cry. So like
at all.
I get what you mean, and I love some of the connections you've made. I mean, women are expected to be happy. So even if you as a woman are feeling sad, it feels that is not what is expected of me. So I cannot let people down or myself down and not be happy. After all, God has given me this child, if you're religious, and why should I be so ungrateful to be sad? So that's functional depression where there's so much acting going on that it makes things even worse. Then the other thing is just the sleep. Your whole sleep pattern has that somebody said you are sleep deprived when you give birth, but you're already sleep deprived from the pregnancy. So it is building up. Then the child comes and has its own timetable and screams and cries for food at different times or wants to be changed. That's another. It's amazing how depression can just easily become worse so quickly because not everybody, but it's very common. And if for those who watch this podcast would know that sleep is a very important factor when it comes to managing good mental health. Even if you don't have a condition, even if you are stressed, people tell you to sleep. So now there's this mother who's come in, she's not sleeping, there's a space, and then birth in itself is a traumatic experience. Like your whole body is being torn open, concocted to bring out a child. You've gone through a traumatic experience. So you're already positioned in a place where life is already against you with regards to making it worse for you to get depressed. Then the whole 9 months when they have put, if you were married, your husband aside to say, oh, how's the mother doing? Then suddenly you wake up in the morning, everybody has forgotten about you. So that in itself is another shift. So yes, I love these points that you've raised. I would move on to our next question. Thank you for sharing that powerful story. I actually feel the joy regarding this woman's story, and I'm happy it happened that way, especially when she had a supportive family. Some people may not have a supportive family, but even that one, the education helps. So yes, I'm really happy. Now, when you think about your exposure and the research that you've done in the past, you talked about some of the support strategies that have come up. We talked about it earlier, where hospitals would probably have these support groups. And I love the fact that they have a psychiatrist, obstetrician, and other professionals, and then also people who have lived through such experiences as well. Are there other emerging strategies and resources that have shown particular promises in helping not only the mothers, but also the partners and the family members experiencing postpartum depression? I think COVID did us a lot of harm, but a lot of good when it came to mental health and how people can speak about it now. But what are some of the recent things that makes it easier for partners and family members to be able to step up for the mothers in their lives who are suffering from postpartum depression, especially?
Two main things we always try to do as regards bringing partners and family members into the know-how as regards management of postpartum depression. One, education. If you're not educated on the subject, you really cannot do much to help as regards that subject because you're unaware, blissfully unaware. So it's not like on purpose you are being absent. You just don't know that such a thing exists, or even if you know it exists, you don't know how to deal with it. So one thing we like to do is education. So that's why we usually advocate that once in a while, men should follow their wives to antenatal care. It's not always, oh, honey, okay, have a nice time, go for antenatal care. Sometimes it is good that you follow her as well, see her doctor, hear what they have to say, because sometimes in the whole midst of trying to bring a child into this world, there are some information that even though the women have received it, it just skips. because in that moment of time, it just wasn't the most important thing they had to them at that point. But when you are there as the husband, as a partner, or as a family member, you are able to pick up on certain things. You have your notes. Okay, I remember the doctor said something like this. Honey, are you sure we should not look at it from this angle? Remember, he said that if you have this, and then you're able to advocate better for your partner, for your family member, because you cannot advocate for something that you don't even know about.
Don't know.
So when your wife is putting up a brave face in front of the doctor during her postnatal appointment, and she's saying everything is fine, breastfeeding check, baby eating check, baby's weight check, immunization check, you are able to stand and say, but doctor, my wife is going through so and so, or my wife is not exactly behaving as she would normally behave. Is there something I should look out for again? Or am I overreacting?
Yeah, or
So,
my reacting. Yes.
but then one thing I always believe is better to be safe than sorry. It's better for you to ask a professional and then they tell you, oh, okay, you just might be a little bit overreacting this thing, you might be overthinking it, than for it to actually turn out to be a bigger deal
Issue.
than you
Yeah.
thought. And
Yeah.
then you didn't bring it up because you didn't want to seem a certain kind of way. No, I always tell patients and their relatives, you are paying for healthcare. You're not paying for me to just bombard you with information. You are paying for me to tell you what is happening with you, and then for you to ask me questions. So that's why when people come and they tell me they are treating me for something, okay, what are they treating you for? I don't know. How don't you know? The doctor did not tell me. I'm like, no, you did not ask. Be free to ask your questions. As a mother, as the partner to the mother, as the family member, when you notice, because some people have an eye for when things are going on. It's
Even
not
if
the
you don't
time
have a
for you
clue about
to
it.
exactly. It's not a time for you to watch and see. People, we as Africans, we have a watch and see mentality. It will get better. Let's watch and see first. Then they watch and see, watch and see, watch and see. And by the time they don't want to watch again, everything is bad. It has gone from bad to worse. When we could have started sorting it out from the initial stage. So I do believe education and awareness, healthcare workers being open to discussing these things with family members, because mental health shouldn't be a taboo.
Yeah,
It
shouldn't be.
it shouldn't be seen as a taboo, because most women are made to feel like they're made to feel like if you're not happy and you're not joyful, you are, like you said earlier, you are ungrateful. There are women looking for children and
You
they've
have,
not been fortunate to get, and now God has blessed you and see you just frowning your face. So as women, we are forced to put on this beautiful smile. We are forced to be a jack of all trades, and you must master all. There is
yes,
no
their house, breastfeed, sleep,
you
like
must
perform
master
all functions, be this superwoman,
exactly.
which is actually making things worse for anybody
Yes,
who is actually
yes,
suffering from postpartum depression.
yes, and especially if they don't have a supportive network or a family or friend that they can actually talk to. And one thing about suppressing feelings and suppressing emotions is that at some point the lid blows open.
Yeah.
And then at that point, you don't know how to deal with it, because then everything is just flowing afresh. And then you yourself, you are shocked that you had so much pent up annoyance, anger, and everything inside of you. So by the time everybody is now shocked that, but
So even if
there was
you
no
are shocked,
sign.
everybody else
Yes,
is
there was
everybody
no
else.
sign. She was fine. She was just the way that woman was smiling and happy all along. And then the evening she had that breakdown. Everyone was like, but she has not. But trust me, if someone who knew her had actually kept an eye,
On her.
they would have noted that. I know people
Something.
can hide. I know people are good at hiding their feelings, but at some point there are lapses in between that. If you are not specifically looking out, you will miss the lapses.
Yeah.
in their behavior and their character. So it's very important. It's important that we make women aware of the fact that it's not their fault.
Yeah.
Most women are made to feel like, if you are going through postpartum depression, kai, you are the worst of the worst. You are as terrible as they come. In fact, you have failed as a mother. F9 all across boards. You have failed. You have failed. And then with that in mind, a lot of people, they see how other women are treated who are going through this depression. So when they begin to have similar things, they don't want to be cast aside. They don't want people to think they're mad. They don't want people to think they're terrible mothers. They don't want people to think they're undeserving of this child. So they would rather watch and see. After all, it will go. We give them the impression that these things will go on their own now. Why do you want to go to the hospital? Other women have carried children, have they not? So why is your own different? And we provide such a toxic space that people are unable to share their true feelings, and it's not good. So providing that safe space that women, their partners, their family and friends are able to not just be made aware but be educated, substantially educated, because some people can be educated but educated wrongly. So correctly educated on postpartum depression as a disease and as a mental health condition that should be taken seriously. Because one thing again, if you trivialize it when speaking to the partners or speaking to the family and friends, and be like, so some people they will have some things like this, and then it will go. Some people it goes without treatment, and you trivialize it and make it seem like it's not that big a deal. It's not that big a deal. They will take it as that. The doctor told me it's no big deal, so why should I make it a big deal? That would be what is at the back of their mind. So it's important that we attach the needed importance to these topics. We don't trivialize them. Even if you're not speaking from the professional position of a doctor, as an individual who is aware of something like this, no matter where you are, no matter who you are with, once a subject like this comes up, you give it the needed attention. You give it the needed importance. So it's not just until you go and see the doctor. As individuals, I feel like we are sent to wherever we find ourselves. Some people might not be as educated as you in some mental health conditions. You might not be as educated as regards economics. I might not be as educated as regards finance or entrepreneurship. But then when we come together like this, we are able to share ideas. I feel like every interaction with an individual, whether it be a mother, whether it be a partner, is an opportunity to leave an impression on them. Even if she's not a mother yet, if it's within her plan to be, or you know that this is someone that is that has this in mind. Mental health should be a regular conversation. It should be something that sorry?
No, continue.
It should be something that just flows out. Based off on instinct. You are speaking and then you just put in one or two about mental health, so that any interaction a person has with you, even if you are the only person that person actually hears anything mental health related about, let it spur their interest to want to know more, to want to be made more aware.
I like that call to action, Dr. Abigail, because I remember when I had given birth and I resumed work, and I had someone from HR, a young gentleman, very helpful, but clearly had lost on a lot of things. Younger married man could tell me that it's fine, you'll be all right. And I hadn't even said much. And if this person was being attentive, they would have realized I was even all right to begin with. So that statement was uncalled for. But then also, this could have been an opportunity if they were educated to actually find out how are you feeling coming back from the house, and how, even though they don't have that experience, they could have educated themselves, and as you said, created that supportive environment to be
Yes.
attentive. And I think that also ties into the men who, I mean, some men actually are brought up to think that if they give their wives, their partners chop money to go for antenatal, they have done a good job. Like,
They've
solid.
done all that needs to be done.
Yes. I dropped you off, or I put you in an Uber. You know what I mean? Like, but,
Yes.
and you can't blame them. It's not they're doing wrong. That is what they know. But the extra thing about being attentive and creating a safe space, sometimes just joining them, understanding what's going on, as you said, paying attention to things that in that moment not be important to her, but to you, you would have picked it up and helped the whole process. So I really love what you've said. We have more questions and we are going on a short break. This is Calm Hearts, Calm Minds. Please remember to like, share, comment, especially share. You have no idea, as Dr. Abigail said, a lot of women want to have children in the future. Some even may have gone through an experience and not know, but now from watching something like this, be in a better place to not tell someone it will go. They'll be in a better place to create an environment that can help another mother one day. So please remember to like, comment, and share, and join us in making mental health victories, like the one that Dr. Abigail shared about this lady and all the successes that have gone on, more relevant, more relatable, and more accessible in our society. So we'll see you very soon. Hi, everyone. Welcome back from the break. For the two of us, it wasn't a short break. It was a very long, long break. It was triggered by Africa's network challenges. So it's nice to come on another day to continue this very important conversation. In case you are watching this and wondering who we are, this is Calm Hearts, Calm Minds, an NOCS Heart podcast. We are mental health awareness podcast with a big mission to make the victories, not just the problems, but the victories, mental health victories in our society, more relatable, more relevant, and more accessible. So we have Dr. Abigail on the call to help us have access to information that will help you or someone else you know, make it relatable. So you see some of the examples we've already shared are something you can relate to and relevant, because you want to make sure that if you are watching this, it can apply to either you or someone in your life. So thank you very much, Dr. Abigail.
Thank you.
It's good to have you back from the very long break.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you. So we'll continue with our questions. Through your work, what cultural barriers or misconceptions, especially on our West African coast. So I think this should be something, I'm not saying it's not global, but we know that in West Africa, these are the cultural barriers and misconceptions. You can even speak to Nigeria directly. About postpartum depression have you encountered? And I think what for me is most important, not just what you've encountered, but how you have seen communities successfully overcome these to create more supportive environments for families, for mothers, and for babies who are involved, who are affected by such.
Okay, thank you for that question. So I'm just going to try and break down the questions into two parts.
Okay.
And that is one, the cultural barriers as regards postpartum depression. I think one of the misconceptions that a lot of people have about postpartum depression is that it stems from a place of weakness. A weak mind, a weak heart, a weak attitude is basically what a lot of people believe. A lot of older folks, and I dare say even some younger people, have this mentality that it is a weakness of the mind. You are lazy, you don't have anything doing with your time. That's why you just sit back and you start thinking, because a lot of people, depression means you're overthinking. So you just sit down and you start thinking because, well, you have nothing doing with yourself. And this is a very poor outlook on postpartum depression. So a lot of people are of the opinion that as a woman, like I said before, as a woman, if you are anything other than happy, then it's your problem. It's a you problem. It's a problem that is just localized to you as an individual. They don't see it as, okay, this is a shared problem. What can we do to alleviate your worry? What can we do to help you, to aid you? Just believe, oh, it is a you problem, so you should figure it out. And when you figure it out, you should sort it out.
I
You
want
don't want
I want to just jump in into what you said because I feel it's very important. You know how sometimes you get malaria, you get a cold. It really is a you problem. If it's a cold, the only time it becomes a we problem is if we all feel we are prone to getting very ill, then don't cough on us. But if we feel we are strong enough and you cough, we don't care. After all, the sun is shining. It's not like we're in winter or anything. Get malaria, either eat your fruits, drink your water, sleep. But to think of mental health challenges as a we problem, I think is very powerful.
yes.
And I think it also starts from even understanding it ourselves. But if we notice that, then you figure it out yourself. I just wanted to highlight how important what you said is about it being a we problem. And maybe that's why that's why we're doing having conversations like this and putting them online, because it really is a we problem. So I just wanted to highlight that. And yeah, being weak for please since I've interrupted already, what about some people say you are weak in the mind. Some people I just feel that you're weak in faith. You are not praying, you don't believe God. That's why you are sad. If you believe God was God, you have confidence in him and not be sitting down crying for no reason. So I'm happy you mentioned about the weakness. Please continue.
Yes. So what you said is completely correct. Seeing postpartum depression, and not just postpartum depression, seeing any form of mental health issue as a we problem, I think is one of the first steps in actually allowing for a change to occur. A lot of people who are, a lot of family members or friends or people who have relatives or individuals in their circle suffering from postpartum depression, a lot of people are scared to admit to the fact that one of the reasons why they keep a distance from such people is that they really don't want to come face to face with the reality of what mental health looks like. A lot of people are, oh, I am for mental health, I believe in mental health, but when faced with the reality that mental health isn't just coming on Twitter to say, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, like these are real life people with real life symptoms that will be displayed. It forces them to confront that reality that, oh, mental health isn't just a status update or isn't just a way to get sympathy. They are forced to actually confront their own bias, which is why a lot of people try not to make it a we problem. They try to push it as a you problem. The problem is with you. The problem should be sorted by you. We don't want to know that you have a problem. We want to see you thriving. Whether you are thriving in reality, it's not our business, but in front of us, just so we can keep our peace. And so we don't have to confront that there's an actual reality outside of a woman being happy and glad and just being emotionally, how would I put it now? Or positively emotionally balanced, if I can put it that way. They have to confront that, oh, okay, this isn't the reality of all women. So a lot of Nigerians, a lot of Africans would rather stay away from such reality. So when we bring up conversations like this, it forces a lot of individuals to confront that bias that they have, that, oh, okay, wait, so I remember Sister Ayo was having so and so symptoms. So that means this is what she was having.
Yeah.
But I didn't see the reality of it. So it forces everyone to actually sit down and have this conversation. And then one other thing I have realized for us Africans and even for as a Nigerian myself, one thing I've noticed is a lot of people expect you to expect mothers to pour from an empty vessel. They don't care if you're empty. They don't care if you have nothing else to give. They don't care if you are weighed down by postpartum depression. They don't care if you're unable to even see outside of that depressed state that you are. All they know is you should keep pouring to your husband, keep pouring out to your children or your child, keep pouring out to your family, keep pouring out to your friends. Just find a way to dig into that reserve. Even if the well is dry, go below
the
and
well.
continue until you find water and still bring it up and give to us. And I feel like that is one of the things we need to change as women, especially. I always tell women that you cannot give what you don't have.
Yeah.
If you are empty, the fact of the matter is no matter how you try to pretend, it will catch up with you. Because you are you cut out every part of yourself to keep everyone else happy and without paying any mind to your mental health. One day you won't have anything else to cut.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would have given all of you to people who are not giving even a percentage, 1% of what you are doing. They don't see you for who you are. They don't see you for what you are going through. So yes, as women now, I feel like we owe it to each other to be supportive. Not just of others, but of ourselves as well. You are your first best friend. I know a lot of us want to talk about being loved. I always say if you have a supportive family and all of that, that's good. But if you are not your first support system at some point, if you don't realize that I need to take care of myself, I need to take a step back for my mental health, I can no longer pour out any more of myself. In fact, I need to be poured into, which is what takes me back to why it is important to have people who can pour into you. Because I'm not just pouring into you, you need to have people that can pour into you positively. Some people have people pouring into them and all they pour is negativity, anger, and they say all the wrong things.
Yeah.
So it's important to have emotionally intelligent people around you. People who can actually notice, because sometimes we don't even notice when we have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's important to have someone who has that, who is emotionally intelligent to say, come on, I have noticed that you have not been carrying the baby like you used to. I have also noticed that you have been carrying the baby more than normal. You won't even let your husband, or if it's the husband, you won't even let me hold the baby. Is everything okay? And just approach that conversation that will make you feel open or vulnerable to be able to speak out about some of your fears, which is usually the first step in actually getting help.
I want to mention 3 things that you have said and to highlight those. You talked about having people who can pour into us. That means that any woman listening to this and probably anybody in general, but because we are speaking about postpartum depression, we'll say women, but anybody listening to this, any woman listening to this, at this point in time, probably have an ask, do you have friends around you that if this were to happen to you, they can give you that feedback? I know I have been a woman who for a very long time was convinced that I wasn't good with female friendships. I don't know why. I grew up with boys, perhaps, and then maybe secondary school and all girls school was a bit of a struggle for me at a point. But then I had just given up. So I didn't have friends who could do that for me. But it's not too late. You can create those friendships. Even, I mean, this is postpartum depression. There's a whole bucket on menopause. There's a whole bucket on past menopause where you are old. So having a solid system around, even if it's not a friend, it could be a family member. Have we invested in those relationships now? So when such a time happens, and it is a mental illness actually, and strains is no respect of persons. Yes, some people are more prone than others. That's true, but it doesn't mean that you may never, ever, ever, ever be prone to such, especially with something as common as postpartum. So ask yourself, have you invested enough, and can you start today? Sometimes you only tell if you have good friends when you experience bad ones, and that will just be a lesson. But it's better to have them than not to have them at all, and invest in having good ones. Another thing that you mentioned was us facing the reality. That one hits me hard because personally, and I've said it on the show so many times, I feel I am well read when it comes to mental health. But when you said that, I remembered some people I knew who were suffering from maybe depression, and I just avoided them. And now you've called me out. Like, we don't want to face the reality of our own bias. So be healed, be well. Like, no, no, I don't want to know your problems. Or because
Yes.
I helped you and you haven't responded immediately, I'm frustrated, so I've cut you off. Go and figure it out yourself. And that is a real thing. So you've talked about the downsides, Abigail, but are there any good examples? Are there any things you've seen in our society? And I'm thinking through a few myself. Are there any good things that you see that, oh, this thing that we do actually tends to help? Because obviously it's a two-sided coin most of the time.
Yes.
But what are some of the things that you know from your experience and your exposure with postpartum depression as a medical professional? What are some of the things you've actually seen that you go like, this one helped. This one in another setting may not have helped, but this one helped. What are some of the things that you feel communities and families have actually done well? And perhaps if they continue to do well in a certain way, perhaps it will continue to help women who are prone to it or who are suffering from it.
I think one of the things that I have realized, I've noticed, usually when a woman gives birth, we have this tradition here in Nigeria, what's called omugo. In Igbo land, what we call omugo, where her mother goes to stay with her for either the first 3 months or more, depending on their arrangements. Sometimes even the mother of the boy, of the father, if still alive, joins them. So that's familial support. I have noticed, even though a lot of our parents or a lot of our older ones might not be knowledgeable about what we are always, in their words, ranting about mental health, because none of them ever had anything with their mental health before. So why all of a sudden all of you having mental health issues? So yes, a lot of these older ones, they might not be able to understand what we might be calling postpartum depression and all of that, but in their own way, that familial support, being there for you, cooking for you, just basically loving on you and the baby, helping you bathe the baby, cooking, cleaning, just that familial support, just having that that familiarity, if I can put it that way, around you at such a vulnerable time. For some people, that actually goes a long way to help them and to ease the burden of actually caring for the child.
Yeah.
So they are able to better focus on themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of people actually go through postpartum depression without knowing they are going through postpartum depression, because in a way they have this familiar support to kind of will I say water down the symptoms, if I can put it that way.
Yeah.
Because you have your mom, she wakes you up with maybe a plate of pepper soup, she's bathing the baby, she's cleaning up the baby. You don't even have that, you're not stressed exactly.
Yes. She'll tell you
And
to
then
go
because it's your
sleep.
mom, yes, and because it's your mom, you can't really go, oh mommy, don't touch my baby. Oh my god, no. This is what I'm feeling. Do you understand? So somehow you're forced to let go of your fears out of respect or something like that. So in a way, or sometimes for some other people, it's just having their mom around is just somewhat of a comfort. So it's like I have my baby and I am my mom's baby. And yes, my mom taking care of I and her grandbaby. So that amount of comfort sometimes for a lot of individuals, it actually is an amazing thing for them. So yes, the comfort of having the woman that petted you and baby you while you baby your baby and then baby both of you all at the same time. So it does a lot as regards to the emotional aspects, especially for new mothers. And then in most families, you have a point where people drop by with gifts, with kind words, and all of that. So that can be really helpful. I feel like us as Africans, Nigerians, basically Africans in general, we have that community support, communal support.
Yes.
So even if I don't know you as a neighbor, if I hear that, oh, you just gave birth to a child, I feel like I feel like it has been imposed on me that I must come and at least acknowledge it. So that communal support is beautiful. It's one thing that I know that as Africans we do, and we do it well. So that in a way is really helpful.
I'm happy about what you said, because it's even from this communal support that sometimes we get all the judgmental comments and the negativity. But from that same one, I know of a husband who noticed that everybody who came to visit him and his wife would advise him to take the baby and allow the wife to sleep a bit. And, so you found out that when the woman started working, he realized that now this woman is working, I'm working. So I normally sleep well at night. So in the morning, I wake up and then get the baby ready while she sleeps. If the baby needs food, I'll give them food. If they need a bath, I'll give them bath. Then just with a little, if maybe some 30 minutes left for her to have a shower and get ready for work, then he wake her up. So in the morning, she could catch up on sleep because of all the things that had been happening, all the comments that had been made that were actually ended up being positive. And I love that when people drop in and pass by, some people can tell that there's a difference. So for those who are watching this and will visit someone one day, we are not saying go and diagnose anybody, but at least some of the questions to ask, some of the ways to go about it already from what we said, to help and support a mother, a baby, or a family that's been affected by postpartum depression. So thank you so much, Dr. Abigail. We will go on to the... Just a second, I moved too quickly. So I have to find my questions again. We'll go on to the last but one question. Great, I found my questions now. So this is a question to you. I mean, you're bridging multiple roles in healthcare. What workplace policies and practices have you seen make a meaningful difference in supporting professional women experience postpartum depression? And what success stories stand out for you? So from what you've seen, from what you've experienced, we know you don't know everything, but what are some of the ones that at least you feel like, this organization, this did well, or this policy is a good one, or this one, what are some of the positive ones? That people have a lot of complaints when it comes to policies. People even have complaints when it comes to policies that seem to help. People feel it's favoritism and all that, but we are not talking about that. We're really highlighting the good ones that you feel that for this one, it has worked and it's doing well. So if other company owners or influencers within companies that can influence policies are listening, then they know that, okay, this is something that would help a woman in our care who has just returned and may be suffering from postpartum depression. Because I think you may, let me see that. So for those who have come back from the short break, we have come back from a long break, but I think you mentioned somewhere that it can go as far as, I think, 2 years, 3 years. I think you mentioned that it wasn't just always just right after.
Yes, it can go for as long as even 1 year after.
1 year after. So yes, by then a lot of professional women would have returned to work. So please tell us, what are some of the things that you feel as for this one, top notch, or this one is great, or this one is helpful?
Okay. Well, some of the ways that organizations can better aid the mental health of mothers, I would say one of them is having professional in-house counselors. A lot of organizations take this for granted. They feel you come to work, we pay you. That is where our relationship begins and ends. But it shouldn't be that way. Having professional, either guidance counselors, psychiatrists, psychologists in-house. Now, this is, apart from the main organization. So it's not like you are going to go and gist your problems to someone who will now go and gist the organization. No, these are fine. These are in-house counselors employed by the organization, but who are sworn to protect you
and not
as the individual. Yes. Who have your best interest at heart, who are sworn to clients therapist privilege, if I can put it that way. So that is very important. because some people are not bold enough to say out loud, I need help.
Yeah.
So knowing that such facilities are already available to them, it's easier for them to just walk in one day, maybe after work or before work, and just go into the counselor's office and just talk about their feelings and try to make sense of what they are going through. Fine, I know a lot of people might find it hard to actually make good use of this service, but knowing that it's available is very important. It's better that something is available and not frequently in use, but then when you need it, it's right there, than for you to actually need it and then it is not available. It is not accessible. Because one of the things that stops a lot of people from actually seeking help is the fact that they don't have any mental health counseling service or any mental health service actually available to them. Not just available, some might be available, not even accessible to them. A lot of people don't even know where they can get a psychiatrist, because some hospitals will tell you, oh, we don't have a psychiatrist or we don't have a psychologist. So just knowing that, okay, in our facility or in my place of work, there is an in-house person who is certified to be able to understand and shed some light on some mental health issues. Or if not shed some light, be able to come in once in a while to educate the workers, okay, that this is what you should look out for, burnout, stress, all those kind of things. It's very important. It's not just about, oh, we have an HR department, we have an accounts department, we have this, we have that, we have this, we have that. What of your health department? We don't just want a sick bay.
Yeah.
Because with sick bay, fine, we might take care of your physical illness, but we want a holistic approach. So if you are going to have a sick bay, that means it will extend to having mental health services. So one, it is very important to have professional, not just bringing anybody who says they have a degree, but are not licensed to actually be therapists. Because there are some people who act as therapists, but knowingly or unknowingly, they do more harm than good. So that's why it's important to get a licensed professional counselor, psychologist, or psychiatrist on board an organization. Then yes, please go ahead.
I hope you don't lose the thoughts.
No.
But I've also realized that some organizations have tried, they may not have, say, access to a mental health practitioner, but they maybe have an app that you can go on to.
Okay.
But I think that for that one, I've been in organizations that have that. There can be mistrust. I mean, maybe in different settings, the app seems to work, but in other cultural settings that you've come in, if people are not using it but are complaining of the mental health challenges that the app should fix, well, in my opinion, I think then people should be able to dig deeper and have a safe environment to understand what is going on and therefore make it more useful. When I worked in another place, they actually had a dietitian because they had done a survey and realized that a lot of us were overweight and obese. I was one of them. So if you went through that health check, you got an email and they said there's a dietitian that comes once a month. Shout out to Dr. B. She was my dietitian. My first experience with a dietitian was in a workplace. And I realized the benefits of because of the weight I had lost and everything. So I understand the benefit of having someone in-house. It may not be there 24/7, but knowing that I can speak to a human being, I could have gone on Google and read about, I knew what to do. But sometimes my dietitian would laugh at me that it's not that you don't know what to do. I say, yes, for me, it's accountability that helps. So for I knew what to do. I just wasn't doing it. But knowing that every month I have to go and see her, I did the right thing. But back to the issue of mental health, I think that having access to these in-person solutions also makes it a little easier, especially in our cultural context where mental health in itself has its own stigma around it. That's why we have this podcast. Then speaking to an app or speaking to, or not even going and having it registered that we were here also has its own, stigma around it. So having as you said, having a safe place that people can probably work with them directly, and then their news has not been carried to HR or to some other place where we feel that if we go, everybody will know we have a problem. or we think we have a problem. And that in itself is a problem. So I just wanted to highlight that some companies are doing well with accessibility. So it's better to have it than not have it at all. But when you have it, it's not working and people are not using it, I think it's time for us to also ask questions that create an environment where those questions can be asked so that you can create the right support. And Dr. Abigail, you were saying something, please continue.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I think one other thing an organization can also do as well is to have flexible work schedules, especially for mothers, especially as regards maternity leaves. We see some organizations, we hear some women say, they gave me 2 weeks leave, and I was even lucky, say, or they gave me 1 month, or they gave me 6 weeks, and I was lucky because there was a woman who had 1 month. It's unattainable. Pregnancy does a lot, both not just on the mental health, on the physical body, emotionally, mentally, basically every aspect of a woman's life. Pregnancy affects. Now, some more, let me use the word negatively in terms of their mental health. But then being forced to be thrown back into the work environment with little to no support, and basically being told to just carry on like you are never pregnant is underhanded. It doesn't help anybody. A lot of women will come back to work feeling drained, feeling like they are bad mothers because they miss a lot of milestones in their babies' lives because they are trying to keep up with work. And then one thing also is that women feel this burden to prove themselves at work.
Yes.
Because first off, you have some people that will try to undermine you because you got pregnant or because you are pregnant. You see, she doesn't deserve a promotion because see, she's pregnant. This will make her slow. This will make her this. She will lose focus on. So they want to prove themselves. So you see a lot of men running back to work. Because they want to prove that yes, pregnancy did nothing on me. I can do this. I am job focused. I am productive, irrespective. But then it is important that an organization that actually cares about the mental health of its workers will be able to give adequate leave, maternity leave, and then not just an adequate maternity leave, give the option of remote work. When one of your workers, especially one that is going through postpartum depression, comes and says, fine, the 6 weeks would otherwise have been good for me. Maybe the person has been pregnant before, and 6 weeks maternity leave was fine, or whatever amount of maternity leave was fine, and the person just comes back to work. But when someone is vulnerable and tells you that this is what I'm going through, I don't think I can come back to work, instead of going the usual route of abuse and talking about how, you see, this is why I don't employ women. You see, what is all this, all those kind of it's important that you're able to liaise with this person. Okay, I might not be in your shoes directly. I might not know what exactly you're going through. But I know that you need help, and I know you will benefit from either some rest, some access to mental health services. But I would also want that you take time off work. You might not be able to give your best, but there's the option of remote working. When you feel less stressed, log into this and start completing some assigned work. But no rush, no hurry. Whenever you complete it, it's fine. I know of someone whose recovery was made better because her workplace, when they were informed that this is what this person is going through, and the husband actually discussed with her workplace that this is what she's going through, this is what you have noticed, this is what the doctors say. So she cannot come back to work. Even if the maternity leave, at that time, the maternity leave, I think, was 3 to 4 months, that she wouldn't be able to, I want her to have adequate rest and all of that. What they didn't castigate, they didn't say, oh, we don't want you in this facility. No, what they did was they set her up, apart from her receiving care from her therapist, her psychiatrist. She also got a therapist from the workplace. They actually gave access to a therapist from their workplace. Even though I don't know, no, she has it. No, they also brought in their therapists to find out from her how best they can make the work environment conducive when she comes back,
Exactly.
and to try and find out from me, was there anything on their part that could have also worsened her state while she was pregnant. And these are people that think, okay, this has affected one of our own. How can we go ahead to prevent it, or how can we go ahead to identify it on time, or how can we even go ahead to be of help if someone else is experiencing this?
Yeah.
And they also gave her the option of remote working. Okay, we don't need you coming into the office, but so you don't feel like you are lagging behind. This is the Zoom line, this is the password. You can log into meetings. Fine, it to be held in-house, but we will also leave it accessible for you online. So we record the meetings, you log in so that you keep up to date. When you are resuming, you are not totally out of the loop of where we are as an organization or where your team is. So this is a workplace that understands that we grow when our workers grow as individuals.
Yeah.
So that is very important as well.
I like what you said about one of us. This has affected one of us, not an employee, but one of us. And it makes a difference in the world when as organizations we can start and say this has affected one of us. This is something that impacts one of us. And this is how it affects our output as one of us. So it's not just thinking about them and letting the work slide. I mean, the remote working allows her to come in. And I feel sometimes we underestimate the level of kindness, the impact when we show kindness. When I had my first child and where I worked, there were a lot of things that happened that even to date I am not pleased with. But there are some things I'm very grateful for, and I can never take it from them. And personally, I can never lie about it. I remember when I started having issues during pregnancy, and my boss said, just stay home, work from home. Don't, now that I think it was around the time they were also bringing more people back into it. So now that people are coming, you stay. And I remember the relief it brought me. It even made me want to work even harder, because like if someone can show you such preference, then it's time for you to make that preference worth the while. So there'll be times I wake up, my left hand will be hurting, but I realize that, oh, my right hand and my voice are fine. And the kind of work I'm a project manager. So the kind of work I was doing was talking to people and maybe typing a few things. I could do that till my hand felt better around noon or late in the morning. So instead of just feeling like I have to come and force and I have to show everybody that I'm ill and they are wicked people, now I'm home and I'm giving my best and also listening to my body, because they have given me the impression that my body is also important. My baby is also important. So don't just go and overwork, but also take care of yourself. I also remember when I was leaving that company, a lot of things happened. But one thing that HR person did was to call me. She was a woman who had 4 children and say, I just want to check that you're not making a decision just because you've had your first child. And I found that very helpful from someone who had 4 children and knew the kind of pressure it was to not only have one, but two, but three, the newness of it all. Thankfully, I wasn't leaving because, but that check was very significant for me. So no matter what these people may have done, or because we are human beings, we are imperfect. We will never be perfect. But those are things that when people look back and are thankful or want to see something good, we have employers who, you don't have to do a billboard, come and join our company, but you have even former employers testifying about the benefits that they received from you, especially if they want to be honest. So I really appreciate what you said about companies seeing mothers as one of their own and trying their best to make things comfortable for them. And I think for those, I wish someone had research on it, but I have a feeling that for those that do, the results from these mothers will go beyond even their employment if they have to leave eventually. I think it's not only good for the mothers, but it's good for business as well to show that level of empathy. Our last question. And Dr. Abigail, it has been a fun 2 days. For those who haven't realized, 2 days. We went for a long break. And if you want to count the days in between it, let's stop here. But it's an engaging 2 sessions with you on this topic of postpartum depression and how we can support mothers in it. There's been a lot that has been said today and the period before the break. Final words. If anybody who watched this from start to finish forgot everything we said, and you wanted them to remember one thing when it comes to supporting women with postpartum depression, supporting their families, and even as a woman themselves who may be going through it, please, what would that be?
I think my final words would be that postpartum depression affects anyone. It can affect anyone, irrespective of age, irrespective of background, irrespective of educational level, irrespective of any life achievements. It doesn't pick and choose who it affects. And I would want each and everyone who has gone through it, who is going through it, or who knows anyone going through it, to realize that it is never the fault of the woman. It is never the fault of the mother. There is nothing about you specifically that singles you out to be the one to go through postpartum depression. It is not any fault of yours that you have gone through it or you are going through it. And it's not the fault of the person who you know that is going through it as well. Postpartum depression is not a sign of weakness. It is not a sign of being a bad mother. It is not a sign of a failing on your part. No woman should be made to feel like she's a failure of a mother for going through postpartum depression. If anything, she should be made to feel supported. She should be made to feel understood. She should be made to feel like she can be vulnerable to those around her, knowing fully well that they have her best interest at heart. One of the first steps to dealing with postpartum depression is speaking out and seeking help. Just the way they say a closed mouth is a closed destiny, and I think that's the adage. Also, closing your mouth in this specific case and not being able to speak out, or feeling not supported enough to be vulnerable enough to speak out, can have adverse effects. It can only get worse with silence. Postpartum depression, it grows in silence, if I can use that word. It gets worse in silence. So it's important to seek help, and apart from seeking help, to speak out when you are going through these things. It is okay, it is fine that you are feeling this way. There is a perfectly reasonable diagnosis as to why you are feeling the way you feel. And there is help waiting for you if you can just seek help and speak out.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abigail, and thanks to everyone who watched this. This is Calm Hearts, Calm Minds, and NOCS Heart podcast. We seek to make the mental health victories in our society, like how women and how society support women with postpartum depression overcoming. And we want to make these victories more relevant, more relatable, and ones that we've had our lovely Dr. Abigail. I won't try massacre her name. I won't even try. So let me just stick with the Abigail. And some of us on this West African coast, we know how to play it safe. We even shorten it so that the place where we know you are going to massacre the name, we'll just shorten it nicely and then if you don't relate, maybe just don't relate. So don't worry. But thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Like, comment, share with someone. You have no idea. I keep saying that when it comes to mental health awareness now, a lot of people who benefit from it may not return to say thank you because of the stigma involved. However, when we continue sharing information like this, the stigma can start reducing. We can start creating healthy conversations around it. And maybe the thank yous you are looking for will come soon, but please don't hesitate to share this with others. Thank you so much. I am Fosia Deku Ama, and I'm your host and the founder of NOCS Heart and the Calm Hearts, Calm Minds podcast. Thank you so much, Dr. Abigail. We look forward to seeing you again on a different topic. We can't wait to see you soon.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me. This was a beautiful conversation to have.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Calm Hearts, Calm Minds, and Innocent Heart podcast. We hope you enjoyed it and we hope you learned something new. We look forward to you joining the next episode. We can't wait to see you soon. Bye.